Well, hey, y'all. Thank you for joining me to give you a quick tour of Rainfall, a spreadsheet model that allows you to design a rainwater harvesting system for consistent daily use, such as indoor use, a house, business, could even be a factory. Anything that requires a consistent amount or a minimum amount of indoor use. Um, this tool allows you to adjust roof area or catchment area, tank size, and your daily demand, and it'll calculate how reliable that water is. In other words, how often you would have to haul water in your system. But you can also optimize those parameters to design a system that you don't have to haul water at all with. So without further ado, let's head over yonder to take a quick look. Let's see. All right. Oops, that's the wrong page. Let me do a little window adjustment. And here we go. Okay. So, so let me first take you to the root page of the Meadows Center. You can get to this report and these spreadsheet tools that we've designed, two different areas. One is through publications, technical reports, and there it is at the tippy top here. And so this will take you to the page. Now, as new reports come out, this will move down the list. The other way to get there is under research, water conservation, and then there it is, firm yield of rainwater harvesting in Texas. So there's a summary here. There's some links. You can download the report. You can see what Ricardo and I look like. There's Ricardo's original thesis in 2023, and then the more recent report. There's a user guide for the spreadsheets. So if you want a more detailed version, you prefer to see things in writing, you can do that here. And then you're going to click on this box. This is actually going to go away. This just kind of just sends you to that box. But you want to click on Rainfall Tool Downloads. And here are the tools. So I'm going to go ahead and I don't know, what should I do? Let's do Hallettsville since it's a little random. So I'm going to open up. I downloaded it, clicking on it, and I am opening that up in Excel. So let me change the view on Zoom so you can see Excel, share Excel. Okay, so now we are in the Excel spreadsheets. I'm going to close that sucker there. Document recovery. Yeah, I don't want them. Okay. So here is our spreadsheets. There are two pages. There's a front, there's a back. Named it that, front of house, back of house. You don't have to do anything in the back of the house. This is where all the calculations, not all, but a lot of the calculations are made, certainly the day-to-day calculations. And then we've got the front here. It tells you what community it is for, the weather station, and then we've got these parameters. Items in red are user assigned and black are calculated. In other words, don't touch the black things, unless you really know what you're doing. I would recommend that like you save this thing and monkey around with it. In fact, it's fun to monkey around with it. But the red things are really what you're changing. So point by point here, we've got catchment area. This is not roof area. Like if you have a super steep roof, you don't add up the area of those super steep roofs because the rain is actually just falling on the footprint of the roof. And so that's what this catchment area is. It's sort of like how does a raindrop see your roof? If it's a flat roof versus a steepled roof, it's the catchment. VT is the volume of storage. So that would be the size of your rainwater tank. Daily demand is how much water do you need a day? Or maybe you have a set roof, you have a set tank, and then you're trying to figure out what is the maximum you can produce on a daily basis and not have your tank go dry during a repeated drought record. Runoff coefficient, this is, I would say just kind of leave this the way it is. manual has some different numbers you can put in there depending on the composition of your roof. But this is the efficiency of how much rainfall comes off your roof when it rains. So 0.92 means that 92% of everything that lands on your roof is making it into your gutters and into your rainwater harvesting system. And then there's a precipitation adjuster here. And this allows you, like, let's say you're in a community 30 miles away from Hallettsville, and it is 10% drier in Hallettsville, but there's no long-term record. For example, looking over here, Hallettsville, the record goes back to 1896, which is a beautiful record to go back that far. And so the spreadsheet is modeling on a daily basis your rainwater harvesting system in Hallettsville from the very end of 1896 going forward. But again, maybe this community you're actually in doesn't have a record like this. And so, but you know that the overall average rainfall is 10% less. You can come over here, put 0.9 in there, and it will then adjust the precipitation down. So that way you can get a better local estimate if you don't have a long-term rainfall record. So we'll leave it at that. Down here, there's two parameters, starting tank storage and dead pool. The default is 50% full. You could put 0 in and see how that affects the answers. You could also assume it starts off at 100% full. This is really a mechanism to test, how does the initial condition of the tank affect your overall answer. And then dead pool is like how much of the tank are you at the bottom you are not going to use. It's like a sediment reservoir. You may not want to pull from that bottom. And it also can be considered an emergency reservoir also. So let me make this a little bigger. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. And over here on the right, we've got this graph. So it is plotting on a daily basis in number of days here going forward, the storage in the tank. So this is a 30,000 gallon tank. So it should be, if it's full, it'll cap out at 30,000. And then it's showing the ups and downs. Now in this particular case, you'll see tank goes dry at about this point in time. I'm hovering. That's about September 21st, 1925. So this is interesting. This is the drought of record for this tank. Depending on your roof size, your tank size, how much water do you need, it could be a completely different drought of record. Now, let me change the precip adjuster back to 1 and let it calculate. And so here's the dead pool storage of 1,500 gallons with these parameters, 3,000 square feet of catchment, 3,000 gallons of storage, 104 gallons per day. We're just above the dead pool here. Tank does not go dry. So this is, if you have this system, you could get 104 gallons per day from this system. If you're an water efficient family, that could support 4 people through a repeat of the drought of record. Now, when we changed it to 0.9, it now shows that the tank went dry for 9 days. It's 99.98% reliable. Also have a number here on the overflow. So if you're doing a potable rainwater system, you generally don't use it for outdoor use, but you could capture overflow from your indoor potable tank to provide water for an outdoor tank. So that's kind of why that is there. So given that we're now violating at least my desire for you to have a drought-proof rainwater harvesting system, we'll come over here and adjust this down. So it's 104. Let's do 103, and let's see what that does. Looking over here, got a little better. 102. Let's look over here. A little better, still not. Let's knock off 2. We're going to go 100. That's looking better. Looks like maybe 99 or 98 will get us there. Put in 99. Boom. We are now above the lowest storage is above the dead pool. And this would be, as long as our use was at or below 99 gallons per day, we would have enough water, at least according to historic conditions, through this whole thing. Now you'll notice here date and precipitation inches is in red, user assigned. If you're in a part of the state where you do have a long record, or you're somewhere else in the country or the world and you have your own record, then you could put in your own um, data in here and make calculations. Be sure to read the manual because it describes some things you need to do in the back house page to make sure that things are where they need to be. So let's say we only have room for 20,000 gallons of storage. I'll put that in there. Kaboom. So that suggests, I need to, I'm not going to be able to have as reliable a supply. So 90, let's put in 80. That gets us a little closer. So let's do 78. Boom. Well, I might be able to do 79. Nope, needs to, oh no, that works. So so that's pretty much what you do. You just kind of make these little adjustments until you achieve your desired reliability. Or if you're looking for a true drought-proof, firm yield rainwater harvesting system, you adjust these values until your lowest storage is above, just above dead pool storage. We could split hairs here. Like we could go 78.5. You really want to go into the decimal points. Oops, I went the wrong way. 79.5. Um, I know 6, so 79.4. 79.3. It's exciting. Oh, look at that. 79.3 is exact. I'm just going to bump this up so I can see that. Yeah, if you like to get things absolutely exact, knock yourself out. You can do it. And maybe you need 150 gallons per day. Okay, so oof, that's not good. You're going to be hauling a lot of water. Tank's going to be dry a lot of the time. So we're gonna need a bigger tank. So we know 30,000 is probably not going to do it. So let's try 40,000. Um, let's try 50,000. Let's try 60,000. Yeah, so it's not looking real good that we're going to be able, let me just do 100,000 for grins. And you can see that no, this isn't going to work. So in other words, if we need 150 gallons a day and we only have a 3,000 square foot of catchment, we're not going to be able to make this work. One of the things I'm looking at is this decoupled from the tank that's being full? By decoupled, I mean the tank's not completely filling. That's a bad sign. Now, if we have to have 150 gallons per day, then we may need more roof area. So let's say we can have 5,000 square feet of catchment. Ooh, that actually looks more promising. So let me go back down to 50,000. Ooh, okay. Let's go back to 45,000. So let's go to 40,000. Yeah, so it needs to be higher than that. Let's do 42,000. That's close enough for government work there. Well, okay. I'm a little anal retentive. We'll do 151. Well, actually, we need to go one. Oops, doing the wrong thing. We want to go, maybe 43,000. and boom, there we are. Now I could probably refine that a little more, but that's how that system works. So if it looks like, oh, it's not working, it's the spreadsheet telling you, the analysis telling you that what you're trying to do just ain't going to work. And so you're going to have to either lower your daily demand, increase your roof area, sometimes increasing the volume of storage, particularly when the tank, like you'll see here, it's this really bad drought here in 1925 that's defining the firm yield. Um, the other thing is you might look at this and go, the tank is 50% full most of the rest of the time. This is a 1 in 130 year event. Maybe I'm okay with having the haul water once a year, and I want to save some money on my tank. So you could then kind of look for these other bottoms here. So there's 35,000, there's 30,000, there's 25,000. So I'm just kind of watching where these bottoms go. And so this one's, let's see, is it telling me a value? It is not 1960. So that's pretty close. I could refine it, but I don't want to bore you all too much. But so we can, if we're okay with hauling water for almost a third of a year, once every 130 years, then we can get by with a smaller tank and save some money. And you may be comfortable with that level of risk, you may not. The other thing, this precip adjuster is, if you're concerned about the effects of a warming climate on precipitation, you can adjust this down, or you could build a safety factor. Maybe instead of 0.9, which we're using to adjust Hallettsville for our particular hypothetical city, let's say we want to build in a safety factor 0.8, decimal 10%. So, okay, so now we want to, oops, that was 3,000 gallons. That's going to look like a disaster. Now we're going to add in, increase the tank to 30, and, that's starting to look pretty good. 17, so that's actually 30. 30 would work, an extra, what was it, 5,000 from what we had before. So if you're having struggles with this, let me know, or let us know, and we'll do our best to try and help you out. I'll do a quick check here on this tank storage. Generally, I wouldn't worry about it. This is what's called an initial condition, and again, it's in here to kind of test to make sure the initial condition doesn't affect your overall answer. In really dry systems, it could. But like in this case, the way I would test this is at 50. So let me put 0. It starts off dry. Changes here, but it's not changing this stuff here. So that's a good sign. And then there's 100 here. Let's do it 100. Again, I didn't see anything move here. It just moved over here. So that's telling me that whatever answer is coming out of this spreadsheet is unaffected by whether the tank starts off empty or full. That is not always the case. So that's why you may want to adjust that up and down, just kind of see what happens. So, all right, well, good luck. Catch as much rainfall as you can because it's yours. And until next time, take care.